Why intelligent women always date idiots. And Jane Austen identified exactly why this keeps happening 200 years before dating apps gave the idiot a profile, a curated photo with a rescue dog, and a bio that says he loves to laugh. She wrote it into her most beloved novel. She made it the whole plot. And then she wrapped it in a love story so satisfying that generations of readers walked away thinking they'd watched a romance when they'd actually just watched a masterclass in how charm is the most effective camouflage for the absence of substance, and how even the smartest women are not immune. This is not a mean video, this is an honest one. And if you have ever looked back at someone you dated and thought, "What was I thinking?" Austen already knew. She wrote the answer down. She was just too polite to put it in the title. Start with the basic architecture of the problem, because Austen understood it structurally before she understood it personally. Intelligent women, she observed across 6 novels and a lifetime of watching the people around her, do not typically suffer from a shortage of options. They suffer from a specific quality problem at a specific tier. The men who match them intellectually, who could genuinely challenge and be challenged by them, who have enough going on internally to find a formidable woman interesting rather than threatening. Those men exist. They are just almost universally harder to access than the alternative. The alternative is available, charming, immediately warm in a way that feels like recognition, but is actually just technique. The alternative makes you feel interesting and witty and seen in the first 20 minutes of conversation, which is a skill that has almost nothing to do with actually finding you interesting, or witty, or worthy of being seen. It is performance. It is the human equivalent of a storefront designed to look exactly like what you were hoping to find. And you walk in. Of course you walk in, because the storefront looks right, and you've been walking past empty buildings for long enough that finding something that looks like the thing feels like finding the thing. Elizabeth Bennet is the most intelligent woman in English literature, and she almost ended up with George Wickham. Sit with that for a moment. Elizabeth, who is sharp and self-aware and sees through pretension with an accuracy that borders on unkind, is completely embarrassingly taken in by a man who is charming, handsome, tells a compelling story about being wronged, and has absolutely nothing underneath that. No integrity, no depth, no actual interest in her, beyond the flattery of her interest in him. And she falls for it. Not because she's stupid, because Wickham is very, very good at being what a smart woman wants to find. He is articulate, he is attentive, he seems to understand her in a way that feels rare. He positions himself as a man who has been misunderstood by the world, which is the single most effective move in the charming idiot playbook, because a woman who has felt misunderstood herself will always be drawn towards someone who seems to share that experience. It creates false intimacy instantly. You feel like you've found someone who operates on your frequency when actually you've found someone who is very good at pretending to receive the signal. Darcy, meanwhile, is standing across the room being real, which is not, it turns out, the same thing as being appealing. Darcy is reserved. He says the wrong thing and then can't explain why he said it. He shows his feelings in ways that don't read as feelings at all from the outside, in actions, in loyalty, in showing up quietly and consistently in the background of her life without announcing it. He is, in every way that matters, the better man. He is also, for most of the novel, the less compelling one, because compelling and worthy are not the same quality, and the English language has been quietly pretending they are for centuries. Here is the 2026 translation, and it lives inside every dating app on your phone right now. The charming idiot has optimized for the medium. He knows what photos work, what opening lines land, what self-deprecating joke makes him seem self-aware enough to be interesting, without actually requiring him to be interesting. He is doing a version of what Wickham did to Elizabeth, constructing a surface so targeted and so convincing that it reads as depth to someone looking for depth. The looking makes you vulnerable to the convincing. The smarter you are, the more you're looking, the more vulnerable you are to someone who has learned to look like what you're looking for. The men who are actually on your level, the Darcys, the ones who have enough going on internally that they don't need to perform anything, are frequently terrible at the medium. They write the awkward first message. They don't have the curated grid. They come across as stiff or strange or less immediately magnetic because they're not performing magnetism. They're just being themselves, and themselves takes time to appreciate, and dating apps have been specifically engineered to eliminate time as a variable. So, the charming one gets the match, the worthy one gets overlooked, and the smart woman ends up on a third date with someone who hasn't read a book since high school, wondering how she keeps ending up here. Austen knew why. The men at your level find you threatening before they find you interesting. Not all of them, but enough of them that the pool feels thin. Darcy's first instinct about Elizabeth, his actual first instinct before he knows her, is that she's not handsome enough to tempt him. He has to work past his own defenses to see her clearly, which he does eventually, but it requires him to be confronted with himself in a way that's uncomfortable, and most people avoid discomfort, and most men who could handle a woman like you haven't yet done the work of learning to. The mediocre man is easy because he isn't competing. He isn't measuring himself against you. He's grateful, and gratitude feels like devotion, and devotion feels like safety, and safety after a long stretch of the alternative feels like love. Then there's Anne Elliot in Persuasion, quieter than Elizabeth, less immediately visible, but the argument Austen is making here is even sharper. Anne was persuaded, years before the novel begins, to give up the man who was right for her, Captain Wentworth. She was told he wasn't good enough, wrong class, wrong prospects, too uncertain a future. She listened. She chose the safer option, the socially acceptable option, the option that required less courage. And she spent 8 years in a life that fit incorrectly, like a coat made for someone else's measurements, wondering what she'd given up. Wentworth comes back, and Anne has to watch him being charming and attentive toward women who are easier, women who haven't already broken his heart, who don't carry the weight of what happened between them. And she has to sit in rooms with him and be polite and invisible and wait for him to remember that she was worth it, which he does, in a letter that is arguably the best declaration of love in the English language. But Anne waited 8 years for that letter, 8 years of the wrong life, because she let other people define what was worthy of her. The smart woman who dates the idiot is not making a mistake born of stupidity. She is making a choice born of exhaustion, of a limited pool, of the entirely rational calculation that the available charming man is better than nothing, that waiting for the right thing requires a patience and a self-belief that the world has been systematically eroding since she was old enough to be told she was too much. Austen's answer, across 6 novels written from a life in which she herself never married, watching everyone around her make various degrees of this mistake, is not to settle, it is to wait. To know yourself well enough that the Wickhams are visible for what they are before they've cost you anything. To trust the Darcy who shows up badly and stays anyway over the Wickham, who shows up perfectly and disappears the moment it costs him something. The charm fades. The substance is still there when it fades. You already know which one you want. The question is whether you're willing to wait for the one who has it. So, have you ever looked back at someone you chose and understood, clearly and too late, that you chose the storefront over the building? And did you know at the time, or did you find out after? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more women who lived 200 years ago calmly diagnosing every decision you've made on a dating app, like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.